Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to look at the September 11th attacks, but through a totally unique and symbolic lens, Vedic astrology. We're going to unpack an analysis that claims to map the core energies of that historic moment right from the sky. Okay, so the entire analysis hinges on this one precise moment. New York City, 8:46 a.m. The exact second the first plane struck the North Tower. This snapshot of the sky, well, it's the foundation for everything we're about to explore.
And that brings us to the core idea here, the really big what if. What if the sky at that very moment wasn't just random? What if it held a kind of symbolic map, a blueprint of the archetypal forces that were about to be unleashed? Let's take a look at what that map actually says.
All right, so first up, the shaken foundation. The analysis kicks off with the foundational energy of the moment. In astrology, this is called the ascendant, and you can think of it as the lens through which the whole event is viewed.
So at 8:46 a.m. in New York, the ascendant was in Taurus, or as it's known in Vedic terms, Rishabha. Now you have to understand, Taurus is the very definition of stability. It's fixed earth energy. It represents material things, security, massive structures. It's the bedrock.
But here's where it gets really interesting. There's another layer to this. You see, Vedic astrology uses this incredibly detailed system of 27 lunar mansions called Nakshatras. And this supposedly stable Taurus ascendant, it was sitting right inside the nakshatra called Kritika. And the symbolism of Kritika is the complete opposite of stability. We're talking about a symbol that's a sharp blade. Its whole vibe is fire, cutting, separation, even violent purification. So right there you have this wild contrast, a foundation of stability that is defined by an energy of sudden, sharp, cutting force. It's quite a paradox.
Okay, now let's get to the main event, the central conflict in this cosmic drama. The analysis points to this incredibly powerful axis, formed by what are called the lunar nodes, Rahu and Ketu. Now, these aren't planets in the way we think of them. They're these powerful, invisible points in space that represent our karmic destiny and kind of these hidden, fated forces. So on one end of this cosmic tug-of-war, you've got Rahu. Rahu is this force of amplification, of obsession, of sudden, shocking events, and it was located in a nakshatra called Ardra. Now get this, Ardra is symbolized by a teardrop, and its ruling deity is Rudra, the storm god. It literally represents a cosmic storm, chaos, turmoil, and the kind of total destruction that has to happen before anything new can be born.
And on the exact opposite side, you have Ketu. Ketu is all about sudden release, letting go, severing ties, and it was in the nakshatra of Mula. Its symbol, a bundle of roots literally torn out of the ground. It signifies a complete uprooting of foundations. And because it's about tearing up belief systems right down to the core, the analysis directly links this energy to ideological fanaticism.
So think about it. You put those two forces together, the cosmic storm of Ardra and the violent uprooting of Mula, and you get what the source material calls an axis of destruction and reconstruction. We're talking a complete and total reset, a ground zero moment.
All right, so we've got this major axis of chaos. But these nodes, Rahu and Ketu, they weren't acting alone. The analysis shows how other planets were basically acting as catalysts, just pouring gasoline on the fire and dramatically amplifying these core energies.
And here's a critical combination the source points out. Mars, the planet of war, action, and aggression, was sitting right there with Ketu in Mula, that nakshatra of uprooted foundations. The analysis describes this pairing as a potent, explosive cocktail of radical action, fueled by ideological fanaticism. It creates this powerful archetype for a sudden, violent strike at the very foundations.
Meanwhile, what's happening with the sun? In astrology, the sun represents leadership, national identity, the king, symbols of power. It was in its own sign of Leo, which is super strong. However, the analysis points out it was being negatively aspected. It was afflicted. And symbolically, this is read as a direct attack on the nation's symbols of power, leading to a deeply wounded collective pride.
So we have this symbolic storm and this focused attack. But what did it all feel like for the people on the ground, for the public? The analysis explores this through the lens of two other planets, Saturn and the Moon, which represent the collective psyche. The source points to Saturn, the planet of fear, restriction, and heavy structures, being located back in Taurus, that sign of material stability. So what happens when you put the planet of pressure on the sign of stability? It's interpreted here as immense stress on security, on economic structures, and it symbolizes the collective fear in the very, very real collapse of those physical buildings.
And this slide just captures the emotional gut punch perfectly. The moon, which represents the public mind, our collective emotions, our feelings, it was located right in the heart of Audra, in the middle of the storm. The analysis frames this as the entire collective consciousness just being plunged instantly into a state of shock, grief, and absolute chaos.
And the text really doubles down on this point. You have two key players, Rahu, the great amplifier of chaos, and the moon, the public mind, both located in that storm nakshatra. That combination is seen as dramatically magnifying the collective experience of shock and trauma. It wasn't just a storm, it was a storm everyone felt at the exact same time.
Okay, whew. So we've looked at the shaky foundation, the central axis of chaos, the planetary triggers, and the collective experience. So, what does this all mean when we put all the pieces of this symbolic puzzle together?
Right. Let's bring it all home. The source basically boils down all these complex planetary positions into a few dominant interlocking archetypes that, from this unique symbolic perspective, really define the entire event.
And this table just lays it all out so clearly. You've got the storm, from Rahu and the moon, representing that collective shock and cosmic grief. You have the uprooted foundations, thanks to Ketu and Mars. The wounded identity, from that afflicted sun, a direct hit on symbols of power. The heavy collective fear from Saturn, causing instability. And the driving force behind it all, the fanaticism, linked to Ketu. When you see it all together like this, it really does paint a picture of a perfect symbolic storm.
So the crucial takeaway, according to this very specific astrological reading, is that the event was more than just a physical attack. It's framed here as a collective karmic breaking point, a sudden, violent rupture of not just material structures, like buildings, but of symbolic ones too. And it left this profound, lasting scar on the collective psyche.
Ultimately, this kind of analysis doesn't claim to explain why 9/11 happened in a literal sense. Of course not. Instead, what it offers is a symbolic language to understand the nature of its energy, the archetypes at play. And that really leaves us with a final, big question. Can looking at huge, modern events through an ancient symbolic map like this actually offer us a new, maybe even a deeper, layer of understanding?